Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl on Crypto. Today, I am really excited to have Lumerin here on the channel. Here with me today, I've got Ryan Condron, the CEO of Titan and the founder of Lumerin Protocol. So, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So, just to kick things off, for someone who has not heard of Lumerin, tell us what it is. Give us like the high level elevator, kind of pitch on what Lumerin is.
So Lumen's pretty low level. High level can be difficult. Like even then, like that is pretty abstract.
Yeah.
At the highest level, I can say it's a decentralized Web3 routing system. Okay, so we open and close data sockets or streams of data based on Web3 interactions.
Mhm.
So you could have a smart contract where you buy and sell data, or you buy and sell literally the connectivity to another node.
Mhm.
And our Lumerin routers will open and close the sockets and stream the data based on whatever the on-chain instructions are. Um,
Okay.
so originally we called it, which is really funny. I was telling a friend 2 weeks ago that originally, when we started pitching it and telling people about it in 2018, we were calling it Layer Zero,
Mm.
which was really funny because someone else trademarked Layer Zero. And we couldn't figure out what was going on because like no one else is doing what we're doing. And now everyone knows what Layer Zero is, which is a
Uh-huh.
phenomenal project. And we're like, darn, we should have trademarked that when we had the chance. Um, but essentially,
That's
we're
funny.
we're building we're building like data rails and piping that can sit underneath a lot of the other protocols and projects.
So I know that you just gave a couple of examples with like different interactions with smart contracts and people utilizing like their Web3 wallets, but like from a obviously you guys have this huge kind of like B2B use case in terms of, you're creating the technology that is working underneath of and supporting a lot of other projects and technologies. But from like let's say just a consumer, someone is like looking for an interesting project, like how do they
Yeah.
actually get involved in Lumerin and what can they do? What is kind of interest to maybe your just kind of everyday crypto user?
Yeah, and that's I mean I could have not asked for a better question. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
essentially, I mean that's what we spent the last 2.5 years building was because we have such an abstract protocol and such an abstract architecture that we were really struggling with coming up with what is that use case that everyone can wrap their head around.
Right.
And the default for us, because my background is in Bitcoin mining, I
Mm-hmm.
got into mining Bitcoin towards the end of 2012 and built a lot of mining tools, built a lot of data systems around the mining industry. And that's where Titan came in, where we started building mining management systems and private mining tools.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started developing Lumerin, we said, hey, well, we are routing data streams. So we could actually route hash power, which is
Mm-hmm.
essentially the compute power that comes out of a miner. So what we developed is a Bitcoin hash power marketplace that sits on top of Arbitrum right now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone can actually go to the Lumen marketplace and they can buy Bitcoin hash power, which is completely decentralized, completely anonymous. And now anyone anywhere in the world can purchase the hash power, stream it directly through their Lumerin node onto their mining pool, and acquire native Bitcoin completely anonymously. Um, so
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I just like I wanted to make sure we didn't like glaze over the massive importance of native anonymous Bitcoin because that is such a huge thing to consider that maybe a lot of people, especially if they're newer to Bitcoin, might not even know exactly what that means. And so what is really the difference between native anonymous Bitcoin versus like Bitcoin that people buy on exchanges, and why would should someone care about that difference?
Yeah. So the key difference and where this boils down is in one word, and it's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That's
as
so true.
you grow, as you grow in value in any type of ecosystem, there are natural tendencies for entities and governments to gatekeep those ecosystems.
Mm-hmm.
So something like Bitcoin that has become such an immense value in our now economic systems, we're starting to gatekeep it. And not just starting, we're actually very far down the road of gatekeeping. Starting to gatekeep started happening around 2012, 2013,
Hmm.
when more and more exchanges started KYC and AMLing people,
Yep.
which is know your customer, anti-money laundering laws.
Hmm.
So in the name of security, the US government basically wants to know everything about the person that is acquiring the asset. So at its surface level, that doesn't seem very ominous. And it's like, oh, they just want to know that I'm a real person. And but the reality is it's a type of control, it's a type of tracking. We saw this a lot during COVID as well, where they're like, oh, you need to join this registry and you need to get the vaccine, and then we're going to track you. In fact, they
Hmm.
started installing software on our phones without us knowing it, trying to do contact tracing, right?
Uh-huh.
So this is just it's a matter of control, and the opposition of control is freedom, right? So what we're doing with Lumerin and the hash power marketplace is we're saying, no, like anyone should be able to acquire Bitcoin, regardless who you are, what country you live in. And the best way to do that natively, completely anonymously, is through mining.
Hmm.
So how do we provide mining to anyone, anywhere in the world? And this was a difficult problem because
Right.
in 2014, we started seeing a lot of the hardware manufacturers started doing KYC AML. So when you try to buy a device from Bitmain, they wanted to know what nationality you were, upload your passport, all of your personal data
Right.
just to buy a piece of hardware. There's not another computer company on the face of the earth that was doing that to
Hmm.
gatekeep. But now we're seeing that with all the hardware manufacturers, if you want to actually legitimately mine Bitcoin in a sizable way, you cannot do that anonymously. And that is the problem that we wanted to solve with Lumerin, where anyone anywhere in the world now can buy hash power. They can stream it directly to their node, and they can do whatever the heck they want with it. And that's freedom.
Oh, I love that. And I think that that's really the next step in the journey to people that are maybe newer to, the Bitcoin and the crypto ecosystem is like understanding that next level. It's not just some investment. It's actually a key to freedom and, economic freedom and how important that's going to continue to be, as as we go along in this world we live in right now. So before we move on to something I want to ask you about, I have to make a comment. I think it's hilarious that you're like, I got into Bitcoin the end of 2012. Like it matters if you got into the beginning or the end of 2012,
Oh, it did. It really
right?
did. Like it did. When I got into Bitcoin, I got in late. Like all the people I was meeting, I'm like, wait, you've been in for like you got into Bitcoin a year ago, a year and a half ago. Like Bitcoin was like 10 cents when you got in. Like that's crazy. Like Bitcoin was $12 when I got in. Like
Whew,
that was
slacker.
insane. Like, well, yeah, because I mean, so I was on the verge of the ASIC revolution, really.
Hmm.
So when a lot of the people that I was interacting with that they had been mining for well over a year, some like early 2011, where they were started with their CPUs and they were mining it, and then all the GPUs, and I was on the tail end of the GPU mining piece,
Okay.
and that was like devastating for me because I was like, oh no,
You were
like
late.
now all these ASICs are coming in. It's ruining everything. Like what else can we mine? And that's
Hmm.
actually when we started mining Litecoin and started mining a lot of the altcoins in early 2013 because we could actually make more money with our GPUs mining the altcoins and then just selling them for Bitcoin on the exchange. So in a lot of ways, we were ROIing on our GPUs at the time in under 30 days often.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
So,
awesome.
so yeah, one of my key regrets in life is when I saw the GPUs and the way they were being used, and I saw that the specs on the NVIDIA cards were far better than anything else out there. And I thought, NVIDIA is a great company to invest in right now. I really should
Oh.
I should just like throw into NVIDIA right now. And I never did, but oh
Uh-huh.
well. I sure donated a lot of money to them. That was good.
Right. So, you guys are about to launch a web marketplace that is going to be kind of along the likes of like Uniswap, MetaMask. Can you walk us through a little bit about what that's going to look like?
Yeah. So A little correction there. It's not really anything like Uniswap or MetaMask.
Okay.
It's very, very different because and
Okay.
it's hard to explain because nothing like this actually exists yet. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so what you're actually doing when you go to, I believe the URL is going to be marketplace.lumerin.io, and it should be live in about a week, maybe 2 weeks. It's currently in the final stages of testing, but it's actually really cool. So what you do is you'll go to the marketplace, you connect your MetaMask wallet. So you've connected your Web3 wallet. It's going to ask you to switch to the Arbitrum network.
Hmm.
Okay. And then once you're on the Arbitrum network on the marketplace, you're going to see a list of hash power contracts for sale. Okay. Um, Now the really cool thing is like this is actually a real commodity. This is a actual contract to stream hash power. So you have to have somewhere for it to go. It's like when you buy a contract for coal on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, it's not like just like you're trading a derivative representation of
Right.
coal. Like you will literally receive tons and tons of coal if you buy this contract. So you kind of have to be prepared for it. And the
Hmm.
other thing is because it's digital, it's instantly delivered. So the
Hmm.
moment you click buy and it goes through on chain, you will have a socket being opened up to your node. Um,
Hmm.
this was problematic for a lot of people on Lumerin because there's a technical lift to running a Lumerin node because of that
Right.
socket to socket piece. So the reason we're launching the marketplace and it's the web marketplace, and that's why we want to denote that it's a web marketplace,
Hmm.
is because you don't have to run a Lumerin node. It actually will stream through the
Interesting.
web marketplace node on your behalf. So you're using the actual web marketplace's validator, which is actually making sure that the seller is a good actor on your behalf. But then it forwards the hash power onto your mining pool for you.
Wow.
Now, a lot of our users are from the Web3 world. So when we say mining pool, their brains like don't
Right.
exactly compute it, and they're like, "You mean like it's like a DeFi liquidity pool? Or like
Right.
what is it?" We're like, "Okay, so this is another sticking point."
Hmm.
And this is where Titan comes in. So Titan is the mining pool company that I'm the CEO of. So what we did at Titan is we said, okay, well, there's a sticking point around mining pools.
Hmm.
So we built a Lightning mining pool. So
Oh,
now
okay.
anyone that has a Lightning wallet,
Hmm.
if you go to the Lumen marketplace, you connect your MetaMask, you buy a contract, and when you're buying the contract, all you do is you drop in your Lightning address. The
Oh,
moment you
wow.
click purchase and it confirms, almost instantly you will start seeing a stream of sats hitting your Lightning address. Because what's
Mm.
happening behind the scenes is the seller of the hash power, somewhere in the middle of Texas or Nebraska or wherever their facility is, connects a socket directly to the marketplace node, connects a
Hmm.
socket directly to the Titan Lightning pool, and that Titan Lightning pool pays out directly to your Lightning wallet. So that's
Okay.
moving a real-time stream of a Web3 token and converting it into a stream of sats into your Lightning wallet in seconds.
Which is amazing. So let me make sure I understood that whole flow correctly for those watching. So you have LMR, Lumerin token.
Yep.
You are on this new web marketplace. You purchase the hash power that's going to be funneling through the node. It just kind of automatically then you're earning the mining pool rewards, and it's being deposited into your Lightning address in
Yep.
Bitcoin, not in LMR. And so,
Correct.
okay. And so then maybe I just want, let's touch a little bit more on LMR and how kind of maybe a little bit on the tokenomics and how that works and like the role it plays. So you need LMR in order to gain access to this kind of mining strategy. And then you're earning in Bitcoin. And so, yeah, just tell us a little bit more of a breakdown on the LMR token in that kind of aspect.
Yeah. So this was like one of the hardest things. So, I mean, I've been in the industry for a long time. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
a ton of coins come and go. I've seen a bunch of value propositions and use cases for different tokens. And the question is like, why do you need a token? Like over
Mm-hmm.
and over and over. I've asked that of so many projects of like,
Yeah.
why do you need a token? What's the differentiation? Right. And the same people asked us about Lumerin. They're like, oh, well, if you're just selling hash power, why do you need a token? Why
Mm-hmm.
don't you just do it in a stable coin? It's so much easier. And this was something I struggled with for a long time. And the short answer is hash power is just the start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Arbitrum network is just one platform. It's just one network. So as we scale the Lumerin protocol across, dozens and dozens of EVM networks, and we start bringing on different use cases, we have to have a common based currency for the platform and the ecosystem.
Mhm.
And that's where I kept landing back on is we need a token because we're not always just going to be in a single EVM environment with a single stable coin available to us. We need to be flexible to move into a Bitcoin sidechain ecosystem if we need to, or
Mhm.
onto Solana if we need to. So it's way more portable than to have our own common base currency for the protocol. And it does add a layer of complexity, unfortunately. But long term, as we scale the ecosystem, we're going to be very thankful that we did it.
Right. And like thinking through those things at the beginning, right? That's hard to change midstream. So really like having that full understanding of the long-term potential makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
one thing
Well,
that oh go ahead, sorry.
I can give you a great example of
Yeah,
why
please
this is
do.
actually turning into a great reason why we have the token now. There's a project currently being developed called Morpheus.
Hmm.
And Morpheus is a big decentralized AI play.
Hmm.
Thankfully, the founders of Morpheus are actually my very good friends, and I was able to actually talk to them about it over the summer when it was just kind of in its infancy, and they were coming up with the idea. And as the Morpheus project started getting further along and they started getting more excitement around it, I'm like, hey, like this is really cool, like let me see your architecture docs. I want to see how the software is going to be developed. This is really cool. And the response was, well, we don't really have that yet. I'm like, well, wait a minute, like you have a decentralized AI play but you don't have the architecture docs yet. I'm like, well, how do you want it to work? So they started explaining it to me. I started reading through the papers,
Hmm.
but they didn't have actually a software architect to actually do it for them yet. So as I started like thinking through like their pattern and everything, I'm like, wait, so you're trying to decentralize a stream of AI inference from a provider to a user in a decentralized fashion. I'm like, well, I just happen to know of a project that built over the past 2.5, 3 years, built a decentralized data routing system, which might just happen to be exactly what you guys need.
How lucky.
So how lucky for us. Yeah, right. So we sat down and we looked at what the Morpheus architecture needed to be, and it was almost a direct overlay of what we already built for Lumerin.
Mm.
So now we have a huge value proposition for the Morpheus community to reuse a lot of the Lumerin proxy code and the wallet code for this huge decentralized AI project. So over the past month now, or month and a half, we've been working with the Morpheus team to move a lot of the Lumerin code over into the Morpheus ecosystem. So what
Mhm.
that actually provides us is, as a Lumerin community, we are earning a large amount of more token in the process. So I'm like, okay, well, how do we distribute more token to the Lumerin community? Because
Oh
we're
yeah.
using our code base, our technology to help another project. And this is actually a great use case now for our token because the More token natively gives you access to compute on the More network.
Hmm.
And now we can provide a compute on the More network to holders of the Lumerin token
Wow.
through a staking mechanism. So if you hold Lumerin, you can stake your Lumerin and then you can access the treasure trove of More token that's held by the Lumerin community. Um,
Wow.
so and this was just the first like
Yeah.
basically side project that we took on as a community. And now we have other projects coming out of the woodwork. Yesterday I had a great conversation with some guys from Filecoin, and they're like, hey, like, do you
Mm.
think we could use Lumerin for a hot data implementation for Filecoin? I said, absolutely. That's
Wow.
what it's built for, is real-time data routing.
Right.
Um, so there's so many other projects that are kind of like sitting up a little bit straighter, saying like, wait a minute, like the Lumerin plumbing really provides a lot of use case for our network. And that's
Mhm.
where the Lumerin token really is going to shine, is capturing that value investment that our team makes in other projects.
Right, which is a really, really interesting kind of like value add point for, when you're looking at the Lumerin token is like, yeah, this was just one, just one project and you guys are just going to
Yeah,
continue to build those. And so that's actually really fascinating and like cool that you guys took that mindset of like, hey, how can we channel this back into our community so that we all win? So that's really cool.
yeah. It's at the end of the day, I say you can have the coolest tech in the world, you can have the coolest project in the world, but if you don't have people using it, you don't have a community behind it, then it's completely worthless.
Right.
It will not go anywhere. But you could have the most basic technology in the world. You could have the worst branding. You could have the worst marketing. You could have zero tech, and you could have the most like zealous community,
Yeah,
and your project will skyrocket.
totally.
And not to point fingers, but Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, like almost any meme coin
Uh-huh.
like falls into this category. It proves the power of the community.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many amazing tech companies or projects are out there right now that have no following, that have no backing,
Mhm.
like no support. And it's not because the tech is bad. Like tech like far outweighs anything we've seen yet in a lot of other projects,
Mhm.
but there's just no one using it.
100%. That's actually, I feel like something I don't want to say like I messed up on in the last, cycle, but was focusing more on, oh, this tech is really good. This is going to take off. When in reality, that doesn't matter as much as what the community is doing. It's really crazy to think about. So,
Sadly, I mean, sadly, that's the world we live in, right?
uh-huh.
So we are, at the very base, we are not necessarily tech projects, but we are community projects,
Right.
and with a tech wrapper on them. And a network is only as good as the people using it.
Absolutely. So we just talked a little bit about Morpheus and kind of the upcoming web marketplace. Like, what else can you tell us about like the roadmap and what the team is working on and what the Lumerin team is really excited for that's kind of coming next?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for us right now is over the next couple of weeks, we're wrapping up the web marketplace.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the culmination of the last 2 years of development on Lumerin.
Yeah.
So that's really big for us. We have the core node that we launched back at the end of September. So that's been live for 6 or 7 months now. Um, After the web marketplace is launched, our biggest focus over the next 3 months is the Morpheus project.
Hmm.
So we are doing a full refocus with the team. We're getting the Morpheus node wallet, routing infrastructure architected and coded as quickly as possible. The goal is to have a live working decentralized AI routing system in place by the end of July. So it's very ambitious. There's a lot of work that needs to be done,
Hmm.
but now's the time to push. So over the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to be burning the candle on both ends.
Yeah.
On the Morpheus side, what's really interesting is because of our involvement and design of the Morpheus architecture, a lot of other AI systems that claim to be decentralized are now knocking on our door saying,
Hmm.
hey, we have a peer-to-peer AI thing, but it's not decentralized yet.
Hmm.
And we're trying to figure out how to decentralize it. Can we talk? And I was like, yes, let's do.
Yeah.
Um, because it's a real issue. Um, Starting with a centralized system and then trying to move it into a decentralized system can be very, very difficult and very problematic for a lot of projects. So um, Morpheus is our key focus over the next 3 to 4 months. That's going to keep us very, very busy. And then, after that, we might be moving on to more decentralized file storage routing or other decentralized AI projects.
Well, and the team will probably, you guys will learn a lot through the partnership with Morpheus and like learning how to, and you guys will get even more efficient at integrating with future projects and things like that, I imagine. So that's exciting that you guys have this kind of undertaking ahead of you to be like, okay, let's build the infrastructure for how we do this.
Yeah, it's a very interesting model that I haven't seen with any other project because we're almost like a support services model or
Right.
a contract services model.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we've tokenized it. So our token is benefiting from the work that the core Lumerin team is doing for other projects now. So we're really excited about it because when we start working on another project, and we even if we get a grant from that project, we don't have to liquidate the token from that grant. We can actually
True.
provide that token as a utility onto our token through staking mechanisms. So I'm really excited to keep exploring this model and see how we can provide more utility to the Lumerin token just by enriching the ecosystem.
Yeah. So if someone's watching this and they're like, this sounds really interesting, I want to learn more, I want to maybe, join your community, check this out a little bit more, like, where's the next best place for them to go? Is it to lumerin.io, or where should people go next if they want to continue
Yep.
learning?
Yep. So Lumerin.io, Lumerin.io. You can join the Telegram channel. That's primarily where a lot of us hang out.
Mhm.
You can jump on Twitter. We have a pretty active marketing team that's constantly, pushing out information. But yeah, I would say Lumerin.io is definitely the first place to start.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to just sit down and chat with me and go over everything that you guys are building to really like open up these capabilities of harnessing, mining potential for just everyday users, but then also what you guys are doing kind of a little bit more in the back end with other projects and the infrastructure you guys are building there. So it's been really a lot of fun to chat with you. And again, I just appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'd say that what we're doing in this ecosystem is so incredibly important, and not just us personally, but just cryptocurrency in general, because it really denotes this aspect of freedom of access.
Mm,
It's a tamper-resistant, um, a sovereign system, and these systems are only valuable if they remain sovereign and tamper-resistant. So when you
100%.
have a cryptocurrency or decentralized network that's claiming to have any type of a KYC AML or governing authority or centralized issuance, then that at its core is problematic for the whole ethos of what we're trying to do here,
Mhm.
which is incredibly important because I've never known a government or an entity to relinquish control. Over time, it's always more and more control, whether it be a large company or it be a government. So what we're doing right now is really drawing a line in the sand, saying this is our data. This is these are our assets. This is our money.
Mhm.
Um, that is what our goal is here is moving into the future. Governments will not be able to seize our assets. They will not be able to seize our data. They will not be able to
Mhm.
control us by gatekeeping certain information. Uh, and that's really the mission.
No, absolutely. And it's so refreshing to talk with people that have been in the space for a long time and come from that kind of mindset and ethos and really understand and appreciate the absolute importance of that. And it's something that I just really do hope that as people start their crypto journey, they end up eventually in this kind of cycle or circle, of learning about the importance of freedom and sovereignty. And so people like you and the projects like you guys, what you're building, I think is a really important step for making sure when people do realize, oh, this is important, need to pay attention, that there are actually resources built for that support that kind of
you know,
ideology. So.
anyone that's ever interacted with the banking system will quickly realize how little control they have over their own
Yes.
currency, right? Anyone that's interacted with one of these like Cash App or Venmo or Zelle or anything like that, and you try to like send a friend $1,000, and it's like, no, 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 sorry, you can't do that. You can only send someone $500 a day. And you're like, okay, well, I owe this person, $2,000. So I'm gonna send them $500 today, $500 tomorrow, $500 the next day. On day three, they're like, no, 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 your max for the week is $1,500.
Hmm.
You know, and you start realizing that you do not have freedom in transaction. You do not have freedom of your own assets. And anyone that's interacted more and more with the banking system, anyone that's interacted with a lot of these data systems, you'll quickly realize that you are the product, in a lot of these ecosystems where, they're advertising to you, they're grabbing your attention, and then they're taking all your data and they're monetizing it against you.
Hmm.
So this is what we're combating is we are working on owning our own assets. If you want to send all your wealth into the dust somewhere across the world, that is your right to do. And no one should be able to stop you. No bank, no government, no entity. Your life is your life, your data is your data, and your assets are your assets. But I appreciate you having me on and letting me do my little rants at the end here. But this is
Like
what we believe.
that is a perfect way to wrap up with that phrase right there. So, Ryan, thank you again so much. This really has been such a fun conversation. I think something that people are going to get a lot out of. So, again, I just really appreciate you taking the time to go through everything with us today. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on.